We were unable to use the core systems that were out there, the legacy providers, to be able to offer the services that we needed to, that our customers demanded. So we started to build our own. And it started with payments specifically around ACH, and then it grew from there. So every single time a customer needed a new product and service, we built that onto our system, and it kept on growing and growing to a full core that it is today. And one of the things we strive to do is to always stay ahead of the game. For example, when RTP started coming out, we were one of the first banks on RTP. When FedNow came out, we were one of the first banks on FedNow. And we're one of the top players on both of those rails right now, so customers know to come to us when the industry is evolving and changing, because we are going to be at the forefront of that change.
Welcome to the Galileo Financial Technologies Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Henderson. We're here to delve into the thrilling world of fintech and banking, exploring the latest trends, innovations, and disruptions. Every episode features insightful chats with industry leaders and visionaries who are pushing the boundaries of finance and banking. Whether you're passionate about fintech, running a startup, leading a large bank, or just intrigued by financial technology, this podcast is your go-to source for staying ahead. Let's dive into the future of finance and banking together.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. I've got Hillel Olivestone from Cross River Bank with me today. And just very quickly, I'll introduce myself before turning it over to him. I'm Christiane Gennaro with Galileo, and I'm responsible for our strategic sponsor banks and network relationships. And we count Cross River Bank amongst those. So thank you for joining me today. Do you mind introducing yourself and just giving us a little background about Cross River? That would be great.
Of course. So thank you for having me. Very excited to be here at the second day of NerdCon. It's been wonderful so far. I'm Hillel Olivestone. I'm Chief Strategy Officer at Cross River. I've been with the company since inception, so about 17 years, and it's been a wonderful ride. We've gone through a lot of different eras of fintech. Cross River specializes in being the premier partner bank for the fintech ecosystem, and we do that by providing two things: a technology infrastructure and regulatory compliance as well. So we've built our own core system, which we can go into details about, and that enables us to offer a whole platform of services to our customers. And this includes payments, it includes what we call banking as a service, which would be card issuing, credit cards with companies like Galileo, of course, bank accounts, checking accounts, savings accounts, as well as a whole different platform of lending offerings as well. We're one of the companies that specialize in offering consumer lending through a bunch of different platforms, and as well as real-time payment offerings through ACH, FedNow, push to card, RTP, etc. So it's really the place where a company can come to offer whatever package of financial services they want to offer to their end customers and users. You come to Cross River, we give you the entire platform to be able to do that.
Great. And I've spoken before, I have a paradigm where I think about sponsor banks, and I talk to a lot of sponsor banks in the industry, as you can imagine. And so I think legacy players who have been in the industry for a long time may solve problems more with people than technology. And then I think of a second wave of sponsor banks where, I'd say, they're either tech forward, reg savvy, or maybe both. But to your point, Cross River has actually been in this for a while, 17 years, and you've always been tech savvy, if you will. So tell me a little bit about two things: how that vision developed, right? And then also, how do you keep up with it, right? Because it's one thing to have the newest technology if you're only 5 years old, but if you're 17 years old, how do you keep up with that?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the first things that we did when we started the company was look at the technology providers and infrastructure players and the core processors that were out there. And for a company our size, we were a de novo institution. For a bank our size, for what we were able to do, it really was unfortunate and disappointing because they did not cater to this industry. And that's fine, because fintech was new, fintech was coming up and growing, but we were quickly able to see that we were unable to use the core systems that were out there, the legacy providers, to be able to offer the services that we needed to, that our customers demanded. So we started to build our own. And it started with payments specifically around ACH, and then it grew from there. So every single time a customer needed a new product and service, we built that onto our system, and it kept on growing and growing to a full core that it is today. And one of the things we strive to do is to always stay ahead of the game. For example, when RTP started coming out, we were one of the first banks on RTP. When FedNow came out, we were one of the first banks on FedNow. And we're one of the top players on both of those rails right now, so customers know to come to us when the industry is evolving and changing, because we are going to be at the forefront of that change. Stablecoin, I'm sure we're going to get into, is an example of that, and that's something we're working on right now. So we continue to try to be where our customers are. And to be honest, our customers keep us honest because they're the most innovative companies out there. These are startups, well-funded industry players by the VC community. They are always pushing for innovation. We'll always have to be in lockstep with them or even ahead of them to make sure that they can do whatever they need to do for their end customers and users.
So since you brought it up, stablecoin, let's go right there. Tell me a little bit about how does the bank see stablecoin fitting into its strategy, and then both for, I guess, its own use and efficiency, but also where do you think that your client base is going to take it as well? So maybe first from the bank and then from your client.
Sure. So for us, where we sit from a strategy standpoint, is that Cross River really sits at the epicenter of the fiat world and the crypto world. And we provide that interoperability between the both. We know that we can be that paradigm shift. We can be the ones that connect those two worlds together. We're experts, obviously, on the fiat side, and we have been working with crypto companies for a very long time. So we want to bring that functionality, the interoperability and ease of use between the clients that want stablecoin and the ones that want fiat as well. You always, in the end of the day, need an on and off ramp between the two. There needs that connectivity. Our technology enables us to do that. So we have recently announced that we're working with Fireblocks and we're launching stablecoin offering in the next few weeks. We're pretty excited about it. Don't want to get into too much detail, but we're going to be the first bank offering this product right now with the networks. And we have seen a significant amount of demand associated with that, and we expect to really take this to the next level. And we're going to be utilizing blockchain and stablecoin really in every area that we can possibly do that. Stablecoin today, we've seen a huge amount of demand from an international standpoint. Domestically, TBD, but we see a lot of demand from our customers for that. And every single type of use case that we're seeing, we're baking it into and integrating it into our regular core technology right now. As I said, to really be that interoperability between the two and connect those two worlds for our customers.
Yeah. And can you, I know you don't want to give too much away, but maybe even just from your client's perspective, what are the use cases that they're looking for? Is it the cross-border transactions? Are you seeing more demand on the consumer versus commercial side? Maybe you can give a little color, because I think we've all heard the terms, but bringing it down to how is that actually going to be used is very helpful.
For sure, cross-border international demand is really something that we're focused on as one of our major initiatives in the next year or so. So international expansion is very high on our list, so we're seeing a lot of demand from our customers there. On the stablecoin domestic side, it's really for merchant use and really converting stablecoin to fiat back and forth via the networks for merchant capabilities. That's the first use case we're seeing, but we have a whole list of other things that we're exploring right now and readily working on for our customers.
Okay, great. And then since we're talking about stablecoin, we've got to cover the other buzzword, which is AI. I'm particularly interested, I know AI has been around for models for a long time. I'm particularly interested in what is the bank thinking about agentic commerce, and how do you know, someone brought up, if I ask for a boat neck sweater and end up with a boat, what do I do? Maybe you can talk a little bit about how you see that impacting the bank, if at all, or is it driving where your clients are going?
It's definitely driving demand more toward the embedded finance world, right? So if you can have agentic finance baked into the clients and customers in that world, it enables them to offer financial products and services. So we have traditionally worked for a very long time with customers who I would call traditional fintech companies. We are continuously seeing more and more demand in the embedded finance ecosystem. And that's where we're starting to put a lot more of our effort into. And I think AI and agentic commerce will enable those companies to offer more financial services and ease of use to their end users and customers. So for us, it doesn't really change what we do specifically. Our ability is really and our expertise is to offer that ecosystem and that infrastructure to the ecosystem. Depending on what type of customer you are, embedded finance customers demand more for us because they don't want to do as much that a traditional fintech company wants to do. I'm sure Galileo sees this. So our offering, our services, we need to go a little bit higher up the stack to offer different things to our users to enable them to serve their customers. So I think it just opens up a little bit more what we're able to offer to our customers in the market that we can work towards.
Okay, and you led me very nicely to my next question, which is how have you seen the client base evolve over time? Embedded finance is a great example. Are there other things that you've seen evolve over time, or even in what you look for?
For sure. So we specialized initially and grew our name in the industry mostly on the lending side. And that was specifically around MPL or marketplace lenders, or they originally called peer-to-peer lenders. It's evolved over time. That market, we feel, has matured. So the fintech players who are coming in and specifically focusing on marketplace lending, you really know who the players are. Marlette, Affirm, Upstart, Upgrade. These guys are really the major players in that area, in that industry. The other areas, continue to grow. You still see a lot of startups and players who can challenge the earlier players. So what has happened though over time from a regulatory perspective, and not to get too negative, the problem is that from a regulator perspective, they don't really care if your customer is smaller or bigger. And the punishment or the criticism that can come from a regulator, the transaction that comes from a fintech player who's small or a larger player is the same. It's the same issue, it's the same violation. So that has led a lot of companies, and I would call sort of the partner bank industry, to migrate towards the larger players.
Yep.
And that is scary because we always want the innovation to continue. So look, to be honest, we have become more critical and more specific in the kind of customer we want to onboard. That doesn't mean we move away from startups, absolutely not. But it's a little bit more of a rigorous onboarding process that we put our clients through, which is better for them, and it's better for us, and it's better for the industry as a whole. So in the end of the day, we may have started to focus a little bit more on the larger players, but we still want to, as we did when we grew our company, like companies like Affirm, Coinbase, Upstart, we worked with them and helped them grow from infancy. We want to continue doing that because we know there's always going to be challengers to the incumbents.
You got to take a couple bets, place bets to make sure. Yeah, and I think the industry as a whole, or maybe established players within it, both partner banks, sponsor banks, as well as processors and platforms like ourselves have, I'm going to say, moved up market, I think, due to the regulatory uncertainty. We're joking about the fintech winter, only half joking a couple of years ago. And so I think everyone has been, I'm going to say, maybe been stricter or had a little bit narrower definition. But I agree with you that, like, then how does innovation happen, right, if we're only dealing with the existing use cases? Can you talk a little bit about the compliance and regulatory side? Maybe I would first, just at a high level, how do you deal with regulatory uncertainty, right? Because whichever administration is promulgating regulations, right, you might not know what's going to come next or 4 years from now. So how does Cross River deal with that?
100%. So look, in the end of the day, you can only do what you do best. Like you have to be great at regulatory and compliance. We strive to do that. We have gone through various administrations, different types, up and down, whatever you want to call it, depending on which one you're looking at. In the end of the day, we have to have an open dialogue with our regulators, and that's what we do. We're constantly talking to them. And so while the change may happen at the top, your regional office or even your examiners, you have to have a great relationship with them. And I don't mean just friendly relationship. That's obviously important, but they have to know what you're doing, what you're thinking, and what you're planning. And that's what we do. We're always telling them about the next step that we're looking at that may come in the next exam. It may not even be in the exam right now, but we'll say, hey guys, this is our strategic plan. This is what we're looking at for a year from now. We want to make sure you understand this is what we're going to be working on. This is what our clients are demanding. And this is the kind of transactions or processes that we're going to be putting in place. They love that. They appreciate it so much that they're able to work with us in lockstep to make sure that the consumer is protected, that the business is protected, and that's all we want, right? In the end of the day, we want to make sure we're providing the best service and protecting our end users. That's what we do. We constantly talk with them. We constantly engage with them. And that's the only way to make it work. No matter what the administration is, in the end of the day, talk to your regulators.
Yeah. And I think the best banks do that, and that's also, as we are looking at which sponsor banks we want to work with as well, we kind of have a paradigm, again, that we look at, and I think it's how are banks really leveraging that and investing in that relationship, because I think no surprise is good to have. Let's talk a little bit about partnerships on the other side, not just clients, but also within the industry. Cross River has its own tech stack, but you also partner with platforms and processors like Galileo. So can you talk a little bit about when that makes sense, how you decide, all that 100%. Kind of stuff?
It's really use case by use case. Every one of our partners can bring something to the table that our customer wants. Obviously, we love Galileo, but there are some things that other companies bring to the table as well. So it really depends on the end user needs. So we want to provide optionality to our customers and the best service. So we work with the best players in the industry, Galileo being one of them, LoanPro, Galileo, all these other companies that we work with being one of them. And we want to be able to cater to that specific customer need, because the great thing about fintech is that you can have 5 different companies looking at the same type of end product. It's a checking account, it's a savings account, it's a loan. But the way they actually deliver that service, the way they actually acquire that customer, what they want to provide can be widely different. And we want to be able to offer that end user the fintech company the ability to do that. That might mean partnering with Galileo. It might mean using something we've built internally. It really depends. We want that customer to be able to choose the offering that best suits them. So that optionality, that wide platform is what we specialize in.
Gotcha. And that works. And I think in the industry, we've got a lot of questions. We're a complex business as well. I think it's finding those places where there's that synergy, where together you can provide something, to your point, that a client or set of clients or segment of clients needs together. I think that works really well. I think another area that we've talked about in embedded finance is that those clients really, they're not living necessarily in the fintech world, and they want parties to provide more services deep up and down, and that's another area where I think we can play very well together. So let me ask you, for in 2026, what are you thinking? We're almost there. We're past mid-November, so we can think about that. What do you think are going to be the biggest opportunities and the biggest challenges in 2026?
Yeah, look, I think we've touched upon the major points. The biggest opportunities is the continued growth in the stablecoin crypto world. We have an unbelievable amount of opportunity there, and we're going to be grabbing it with two hands. So that's really exciting. And I think we touched upon it also, embedded finance. I think that we're going to continue to see significant growth in that vertical, and we're continuing to focus on that. The challenges, I think you touched upon it. It's regulatory uncertainty, and it's always going to be regulatory uncertainty. There's a lot of conversations around charter changes at one level, but then also, as you said, the administration changes. So it can bring a whole new different paradigm to what we see in fintech right now. So we're preparing for everything across all areas. It's super exciting. I think the opportunities massively outweigh the risks and concerns that we have, but we're always going to be focused on both.
If it weren't complicated, they wouldn't need us.
Exactly. You have to bring something to the table.
Exactly. Great. Is there anything you'd like to talk about or mention or whatever before we wrap up that I haven't asked you?
Again, super excited about FinTech NerdCon. It's been great. I'm really excited to see where they take this conference for the next few years, and great working with Galileo. Really appreciate you having me here.
All right. Thank you for the Cross River partnership, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
This podcast has been a production of Galileo Financial Technologies with all rights reserved. The content is provided for informational purposes only and is not legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. We strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information. You understand that any reliance on this information is at your own risk.